Rosa, I can record it. Yeah,
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you.
Great. So, well, I'm here today to present our most recent analytical product, the Social Mobility Data Explorer tool. I'll give first a bit of background on like the Social Mobility Commission, the State of the Nation report, and the Social Mobility Index, and then I'll pass it to my colleague Alistair to do the demo of the tool, and so he will show you like in detail the structure and the amazing functionalities he has developed. And at the end, as I mentioned, we allow 5 to 10 minutes for questions, comments, and feedback. So a bit of background, who are we? Well, the Social Mobility is a statutory and independent body with appointed commissioners and a small secretariat. We are sponsored by the Cabinet Office and we sit under the Equality Hub. And then under the Equality Hub, there's also the digital team who has supported us in the technical part of developing the tool. Then, in terms of the Social Mobility Commission, we, as an organizational purpose, is like we exist to see a UK where the circumstances of one's birth do not determine outcomes in life. So, but what do we do? Like, how do we try to fulfill our aim, our purpose, our duty? So one of our core functionalities is to monitor and report on the state of social mobility across the UK. And we do that every year in our State of Nation report. It's our annual report, basically. In this report, we aim to understand how many people are socially mobile and in what parts of the country. So, and basically, we want to see whether a person's background is limiting opportunity. So how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we monitor and report? Basically, in 2022, we launched our new social mobility index just to do that in a consistent and systematic way. We introduced this index to give us more of a systematic approach in the way we measure social mobility across the life course. So you can see here in the screen the structure of the analytical framework. So first, we have measures that are categorized under mobility outcomes. These are about making progress from your parent's position to your own eventual position as an adult. This is usually done when someone in their 50s is in their 50s, and it represents whether if they have achieved social mobility in one of the dimensions we monitor, which is our occupational class, income, housing, education, and wealth. Then the second set of measures are referred to intermediate outcomes, which compare people's starting point and their end point in their teens, like 20s or early 30s, as they move through education and into labor market. So basically, it's like education and labor market indicators broken down by socioeconomic background. This provides an early indication on how one might do in their mobility outcomes now and in the future. And finally, the third set of indicators are the drivers, which are background conditions at societal level that help or hinder social mobility in the future. These might be things like access to good quality or social capital. So this year, in the State of Nation 2023, we have optimized, it's the second year we use the index, and we have optimized the use by providing breakdowns by geography and by protected characteristics. We have also improved on how we measure socioeconomic background with a new 5-part division rather than the original 3-class measure used in last year report. This 5-part division includes higher and lower professional class, intermediate, and higher and lower working class. But even more exciting, this year, together with the report, we have developed and launched an interactive dashboard that presents all the data in a more user-friendly and accessible format, which is the focus of this session. But where the idea came from, basically, there were 2 factors that inspired the idea. At the beginning, where we were planning some State of the Nation 23, we were very ambitious in the amount of new analysis that we were going to include, not only the trends and the national picture for more than 40 indicators, but now also regional, sex, ethnicity, and disability data. Well, we realized that was going to be a very comprehensive and long report and potentially difficult to navigate for a lot of users. I mean, it ended up being 250 pages. So therefore, we decided to develop a platform that transformed this exploratory report into explanatory tool that covers the different needs of the different audiences and stakeholders we work with. And then basically the format that we got the inspiration, it was from inspired by Raj Chetty Opportunity Atlas, which is like an American economist, basically a lead academic in the field of social mobility in America. And they have this amazing tool at postcode level, which is like great with those great functionalities. But to our knowledge, there was nothing similar or comparable to this tool in the UK. And basically, as I mentioned, we wanted to simplify and translate the findings from our State of the Nation report. So quick overview on what the purpose of the tool, what does the tool do? The pitch would be the Data Explorer tool is a collection of interactive maps, charts, and commentary that show social mobility measures across the UK, broken down by geography and protected characteristics. So the tool presents the underlying data of the report into more accessible way and allow users to exploit the data and insights to meet their individual needs. It serves as a tier complement to our State of Nation report, and basically it brings the report and the findings to life, and is the first step to move to this explanatory to exploratory product, and it helped the SMC to fulfill its remits to monitor social mobility across the UK. And finally, before to get into the demo, I'm going to check. I'm going to explain you like how did we find our users and the different needs and how we adapted to this during the way. So basically, our digital team at very early stage and initial stage of the development of this tool, they conduct their user research sessions, and they identify two main user groups. One of them on the left is the change makers, and the other one on the right, the storytellers. But both of them carry out research into social mobility in the UK. So the first one, we identify them as those who need the data and insights to make evidence-based decisions on policy, strategy, or funding projects to address social mobility. That will be some examples, government, and hopefully like you will find yourself in some of this group, would be government, policy advisors and analysts, NGOs and special interest groups, local authorities or public services, and businesses and private sector organizations. And then we also have the storytellers, which are identified as those who need the data and insights to influence the public debate around social mobility. That would be more like as journalists, government researchers, academics and think tanks, and comms and press teams. Right. So that's now I'll pass it over to Alistair to show you a demo of the tool. So Alistair, are you in the line?
Give it a sec. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, fantastic. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll
Lovely.
pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Rosa. Okay, so give this a second and I'll share my entire screen. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the social mobility data homepage. And what we've tried to do on the homepage is not overwhelm users with any information that we've got here. It's just a brief introduction into what is social mobility data and the kind of thing that we can expect on the site. And what we've done, for people who may or may not be familiar with social mobility data, we've broken it down into three areas. So we have mobility outcomes, so where people expect to end up in their lives, the drivers of social mobility, the things that affect change, and outcomes that that we can expect along the way. We've got this broken down, as Rosa said, by area. So one of the things we've tried to do with this year's report is look at individual areas. And what we've got for that is we've got an area page where you can look at any ITL2 area. And within each ITL2 area, we can get an overview as to what is happening on within that area. The reason we've chosen ITL2 areas is because that's the amount of data we've got. We don't have data down to individual postcode area in the same way that the US project does. But what we've done with social mobility by area is we've broken it down into 5 what we call composite indices. So we've taken within each section of the site, drives of mobility, outcomes, that kind of thing. We've got lots and lots of indicators, lots and lots of things that we're measuring and we're graphing. Within an overview page, so an overview by area, what we're doing is we're taking composite indices. So in each area, we're looking at 2 or 3 measures and combining them to get an overall picture as to how that area does for related metrics. So, for example, in this case, in Bedfordshire, childhood poverty and disadvantage is a composite that looks at childhood poverty and a few other areas and ranks that area, but relative to the rest of the country. So we've got on this particular page, we have a number of quintile graphs, so you can see how an area does relative to other areas in the country. So in this area, childhood poverty, they're doing fairly well. So they're in a lower quintile. So lower childhood poverty is a better outcome. And for promising prospects, research and development, so how much money gets invested into businesses, that kind of thing, they're actually doing quite well. So they're in a higher quintile. So more, in this case, more money invested means better outcomes. So they're in a higher quintile for that. We can click through to these and we can get a breakdown as to what that quintile measures. So we've got explanations as to what other indicators are included in this composition. What we then do is we've tried wherever possible to break down the data into a map. And one of the key things that we've tried to do is make the website as interactive as possible. So there's a lot of data to present. If anyone's actually seen the printed report, it's 300 odd pages. We don't want to overwhelm our users with all of that. So what we want to do is we want to present it in an interactive way so that users can interact and find out the information that they want. And we're trying to present it in as many different ways as we possibly can, because we understand that people interpret data in different ways. So some people might be more visual. They might look at maps and they might relate areas on a map to what they need from the data. Others might want more of a quantitative outlook, and they might prefer to look at, in this case, we have a dot plot, so they can see kind of exactly where an area features within a quintile. So quintiles are fairly crude. We're breaking down areas into 5 sectors, lowest 20% all the way up to the top 20%. But within that, there's obviously a range of values that we want to show. So we can show that in different ways. What we've also got is the actual underlying data behind this. So as well as looking at visualizations, maps, charts, and all the rest of it, we've got the raw data so that if anyone is particularly interested to see that, if they want to download that and include that in their own project, they can do that. And what we've also tried to do is provide easy to use and convenient download. So we can allow people to download the map, and that should then pop up. We've now got a PNG for that map that you can include in your own projects if that's what you want. We've also got the CSV, the data that can be downloaded as well. So that then comes down as a CSV, and that can then be opened in Outlook, not Outlook rather, Excel even. You can open that in Excel, and we've got all the data that's on the page. A little bit more precision in that data, but you can then go ahead and chart that data, do whatever it is you need to within your own projects. So every step, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make this data as accessible as possible to as many people. So some people might want to chart, they might want to click on things and just have a browse around. Some people might want to download the data and get a much broader insight into what's going on. So what we've got within this, we have a range of charts that we've implemented to show data in different shapes. So whatever data, whatever kind of chart looks best for the data, we've tried to find the most appropriate chart. We've tried to include a bunch of interactivity to that, so we can hover over, in this case, we've got a line chart, we can hover over the series on that line chart and we can find individual values for that. So as we go along the series, we've got all of this information there. If we want to focus or highlight on one particular area, then we can do that. So we can click on an area and it will hide other areas of that chart so that we've got that information available. Again, we've got maps on this page, and all of this again is backed up by data downloads. We've got data tables, and we've got downloads for people to include the information in their own projects. One of the other things we try to show where we have the information is confidence intervals. So in this case, we have a dot plot, and within each, for each dot of this dot plot, we have a left and a right bar indicating how confident we are within that data. In this case, we're very confident in the data. The error bars, the confidence intervals are very tightly packed. So that would suggest that we're fairly confident in that data. And then what we do on each indicator page, we've given a breakdown as to where the data has come from, how we've measured it, how we've spliced and diced it, and any other important information that's gone into compiling this interval. We have more information, so how we've what our quintiles are, how we've calculated that, what our confidence intervals are, and how those are all calculated. So if we go through a few more different chart types, we have one of the things we've tried to do is we've tried to present data side by side. So a lot of the data, a lot of the indicators that we can look at show, as Rosa said, they show a breakdown by disability status, by gender, and by ethnicity. And what we've tried to do with this is, if we look at income progression over a person's career, we're trying to look at men versus women by socio-economic background in this case. And by laying graphs next to each other, we can get a very quick visual comparison as to how men, in this case, compare to women. To quite a stark difference there. We continue the theme as we go through the site, so comparing data side by side. So we've got on this particular page, we're looking at stacked bar charts. So again, comparing men, women of socioeconomic backgrounds by occupational class for their occupational mobility. So how do men and women from different socioeconomic backgrounds compare against each other as they go through their career? Again, in making these things interactive, we're trying to give people the ability to show hide data so they can focus on whatever it is they want. And where necessary, we've got where the data is available, we've got confidence intervals, so we can click. A lot of this is hidden by default, so we're not overwhelming users. We can show, people can choose what they want to show on the page. And again, we've got more information on the information that's contained on the page and where it's been gathered from. So yeah, lots and lots of different chart types, lots and lots of different ways of presenting the data. One of the things we've been quite keen to do is, given that this is given the target audience of this page, we've tried to make sure that it's mobile friendly. So if I show you this on as it would appear in a mobile browser, we've made sure that all the charts are still visible in small screens. We've still got scrollable content. so that people can download it and view it on their mobile if that's how they choose to download it. And then on top of that, we've also gone to great depths to make sure that whatever is on screen, we understand it's quite technical, quite in-depth content, but we've made sure that the site is as accessible as possible. So it's acceptable for screen readers. Screen readers can pick out as much as they can on these screens, and it's visible to as wide an audience as possible. So yeah, that's a few different chart types that we've looked at. We can group data, we can yeah, like I say, show lots of tooltips and other bits and pieces on the page.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alistair. That was very comprehensive and detailed. There's already really good questions in the chat. Some of them, I'm afraid, they are for you. Yeah, is there anything else you want to show or comment before I share the screen again?
I think I think we've covered quite a few of the different types of visualizations that we've done. Unless there's anything specific that you can think of.
No, that was super comprehensive. You show all the types of charts and functionalities. So that's great. So fantastic. I'll share my screen now again for the the conclusions basically, and the Q&A. Great. Bear with me a second, please. Here we go. So, well, I just wanted to conclude a bit that it is our hope that we build this tool year on year. This is the first iteration of hopefully many. We plan to do like periodic updates to the tool, and not only in terms of new data coming up, also of like new functionalities and like adapted to the different users' needs, and we hopefully this is like ultimate help to create policies and interventions that promote greater opportunity for all. And say that, I encourage you to check and explore the tool. You have the link here. Do it by yourself. And please, if you have any type of comment, question, or feedback, do not hesitate to get in contact with me, and I'll manage all the feedback. And well, now just a big thank you to like the NAFIL research group that help us with all the analysis, and of course big thank you to all the digital team that basically they were like the magicians of this amazing product. Now I'll check the questions. There's quite a lot there. And if necessary, I'll pass it to Alistair because some of them might be quite more technical. So I think I've tried to answer a few of them, but there's one, Alistair, that they ask if the code for generating the visualizations from the data is also available openly, or if we plan to do that. Don't know if you have had this conversation in the digital team.
It's actually not a conversation that we've had, but as a general rule, all work we do for government is open source and is publicly available. So what we can do is it's all stored in GitHub if people are familiar with GitHub. So I can pop a link to that in the chat now, actually, so that people can have a look at that.
That's fantastic. I'll also take notes of that. Great, fantastic. Hope that that answered that question. Then someone else asked, how do you make decisions regarding the colors used in the charts? What are the accessibility considerations? I mean, I know for a lot of the charts, we take the same colors or similar colors as the report, and we did like some color blindness tests to choose those colors, also along with the Social Mobility Commission kind of color guideline as well. And I think, well, I know that Alistair, like you conducted an accessibility audit, but do you want to extend that part in terms of accessibility?
Yeah, so as part of our team, we do have UX designers and content designers who will go out there and they'll do, we do a range of testing. So as well as just basic on-screen colorblind testing. So we have software that allows us to simulate different types of color blindness, so we can make sure there's a good range of contrast on the screen. We do actually make use of the government's own usability lab, so they will go away and they'll test it. So we do thorough accessibility testing, and they report back, and some things will be fixed, some things we will kind of make notes on, and we've got an accessibility statement on the site for that, you know, that covers what we have done, what we can do, and what we can't do.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alistair. Then jumping into the next question, someone is asking about if we plan to break this down into smaller areas in the future. As you pointed here, some of these areas are quite big and are quite heterogeneous in terms some local authorities within these areas are very different to each other in terms of social mobility. And short response is yes, we are trying to break down into smaller areas. We don't know yet if we'll be able to do it by the next iteration, but our plans for the future, especially on the composite indices, is to break down to ITL3 level, which would be upper tier, lower, well, UTLA. But we are subject to data limitations because a lot of this is based on labor force surveys, so survey data, and the sample size is quite small, so that has been our main limitation. But through the composite indices, we can expand the sample size, therefore do smaller geographical level. So that's the aim for the next iteration, for the next report. So we expect that, hopefully. Then I'll try to cover one more or two more, given the time. Alistair, there's quite a lot of interest about which tool have you used to create the dashboard and the visualizations? What software technology tool?
Yeah, so basically, well, given it's a website, it's all JavaScript based. So fundamentally we're using JavaScript. On top of that, we're using the D3 JavaScript library, if anyone's heard of that, which helps us do some mapping and other bits and pieces. And then we're using another D3 library on top of that, which is called Observable, which allows us to quickly and easily create charts. Then on top of that, we've written our own code that allows us to quite easily create charts using just one or two lines of code. So we can create an element on a HTML element on a page, chuck in one or two lines of JavaScript, and all of that will generate a chart for you or map for you automatically. There are instructions in the GitHub link that I sent. There's a documentation folder within that contains information as to how that works and how you can go ahead and use that. But if anyone does want some more information, then please reach out.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alistair, and thanks for sharing the link as well. I'm just conscious of time. Stop sharing now. If there's any remaining questions, I'll try to get back to you via email. I'll check the chat. But thank you very much for your time. If you have any feedback, comments, or questions, please post my email as well in the chat, as well the one that I was showing, rosa.alonso@socialmobilitycommission.gov.uk. Thank you very much, and hope you have a good